kind of go out there about my life saying, and I've asked myself in every situation where I have felt like there was something very wrong, I've said, okay, do I want to be here enough to put up with this?
Right.
And either find a way to fight my way through it or not. And I always just brought the focus back on myself. And I would always say to myself, I'm going to keep striving and I'm going to keep working, and hopefully I will end up in that better place. Whether it's a male or a female that hires and supervises me or funds whatever venture and however that I'm involved in whatever way, that they just see my value and it won't matter. That's what I always just keep my eye on that particular value. I understand what you're saying about fighting and just keeping the energy moving that way. But let's bring back a tired, old, and somewhat boring argument, but I'm going to take a different side on it.
Okay.
A lot of the excuses in the cover that employers used in the past for paying women less was because they had the tendency to go off and bear children and take time off to recover from that and begin the kid's life at home for a couple of months, and that had the reasonable effect of paying them a little bit less because it was harder to employ them because they would have to find others to fill in and things like that. Let's get your thoughts and I'll tell you what I think.
Well, I think that is personally a line of crap because not every woman gets pregnant, so that excuse doesn't work well for me. And why not let the man stay home?
Well, and they do now. We have paternity leave now,
Right.
which
Nothing wrong
we
with
never
that.
had. And
I'm okay with that.
No, I'm fine with it. But I will say, if you've ever been in a situation where you've had a pregnant coworker who has taken utter and complete advantage of the situation, it is a really bitter scenario. I had a situation where a coworker was pregnant and I worked an evening shift and she worked afternoon. And this is before she even took her time off to go and have the child, she repeatedly would call in, I'm not feeling well. And she had quite a drive into work, which always annoyed me because when there was weather, because it's like, okay, either move up here or find a job closer to home, because
Right.
because what would happen is whenever this person had an issue getting into work, the morning person, and in broadcasting, those of you who are our colleagues know this, a broadcast shift is shorter than an 8-hour work shift for a reason. It's more intense,
Very
compacted,
intense.
and there's, what have you. So there's a reason why people aren't on the air for 6 hours at a time or 8 hours or whatnot. Well, if this person who had the middle part of the day didn't show up, the morning person had to tack on approximately 3 to 4 hours, and I did too.
Right.
And I worked hours and hours and hours, 1.5 times the amount of work that I had because of this person. Never got anything extra for it. And she never got anything less because of it. And it's very hard to, and let's just throw out the normal flu bug type illnesses.
Sure.
I'm talking specifically this. I don't care if she was feeling fine or not. It was not fair to the rest of us. And that's something that's very difficult. How do you handle that?
Boy, that's a good point.
And it's hard not to
Well,
resist those
see,
people.
then that's where you come in to making individual decisions. And to me, that's something that a lot of managers don't do. They have set protocols for things so that they don't have to make decisions. So that they can say, okay, well, let's pull out the policy book. Oh, well, that's how it goes, so that's it.
But what about this one? What about this? There wasn't anything really written down about this, because how do you describe this in the manual? And the boss needed that time covered, and he's calling and asking you to help out.
I want
Say no.
more, then can you say, I want more pay, or I want a comp day for this?
I didn't. Maybe I should have.
Maybe that's, and maybe you could have,
Mhm.
but you didn't ask.
That's true, but I didn't at that time feel like I could.
Like
And
you could.
you're in a situation where you're climbing, and I felt like I was very much taken advantage of by the coworker, not as much the company, because I understood the company had to cover.
Right, they're doing what they have to do.
They had
Sure.
to, and I don't know what else they would have done, because there were only certain people that could do the particular job that I had at that point in time, and the backups and all of that. But it's something to consider, because again, when women used to get paid less money because of their propensity to go bear children, and now it's almost like a sacred cow that you can't, no offense, no, there was no pun in the fat joke, no, I didn't mean that.
It's time for her to get in trouble.
Sacred, I already did that on Facebook. It's like something that you can't touch. It's the almighty, well, she's pregnant, so they get away with everything. So something to keep in mind, is the entitlement creep. I think it's almost gone a little bit too far in the other aspect.
But don't you think that that's how we tend to be anyway? I mean, look at our economy, for God's sake. It went woo, and now it's going woo. So there's this propensity to create this, we go one way really far, and then so we think, okay, we gotta fix it, and then we swing way back the other way.
You're talking about the response to the economy? Sure.
Yes,
okay.
and I'm talking about in any case, in anything that we do, that we wind up going so far the other way, and then till we find this balance and we find this middle ground. But as a society, I don't know if we ever get to that middle ground.
Mm-hmm.
We tend to just swing way out this way or way out that way.
I totally understand, but I guess the takeaway is, somebody's always going to have a time in their life where you're going to have to pitch in more or
Right,
be put
sure.
in a situation that you don't like. But I never even said anything, not only, and perhaps it is my own fault, to my boss at the time, because I was so intent upon climbing at that point in time. And I never said anything to the coworker because I was too mad.
Mm-hmm.
I was too angry about it. It would not have gone well. But the question is, had I complained to her and said, it would be really nice if you'd make an effort to show up because you're really causing a hardship for me, could I have been accused of some sort of discrimination or gotten in trouble for being derogatory? There is that question.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I think that it would be nice if they were just aware of how the childless people or the people
Right.
that aren't feel and how your actions. I don't know. It would be nice if people could be a little more.
Well, and then I think it comes down to being able to actually talk to your boss, to actually go in there and be able to have a conversation with them without having that come back at you. And the problem is, a lot of managers you can't do that with.
No, because they can't.
I've had a few.
Well, and it's not just their personalities or whatever. There's so many things that they can't talk about, lest they should put themselves in a difficult HR situation.
Exactly.
So again, do these laws really help or not?
Well, what do you think? Why don't you let us know? You can always email us at thegigstunk.com. It's Terry at thegigstunk.com.
Kelly at thegigstunk.com.
We'd love to hear what you have to say.